speaking of DEI,
exactly.
Are we ready to hop into that one?
To the big topic at hand here, because we have another huge story that broke yesterday, and this one, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to look at this. Now, WDW Pro, I know that you released a video on this matter earlier already. I regret that I have myself not yet had time to see it. I do understand that a couple of the panelists here were on it, trying to get this up on screen now, but Mike, here we go. So yeah, what happened yesterday is that Variety broke the exclusive scoop that Disney's chief diversity officer, Latondra Newton, exits. Now, when someone exits this way, that's not 100% of the time, but certainly more often than not, code for that they were fired. So, WDW Pro, please take us through the story. What is going on here, and what is your reading of it?
Well, as we begin our fascinating and exciting journey with the Walt Disney Company as they enter this tailspin, let's set the context by going up just slightly before where we arrived with Latondra Newton, and let's say that it was only a few days ago that the chief financial officer, Christine McCarthy, stepped away from the Walt Disney Company. Now, Christine McCarthy is a very cutthroat sort of executive. She is also someone who has been highly instrumental in keeping some of these extreme ideologues inside the company. She's also been someone who is a stalwart defender of Kathleen Kennedy, etc. Now that she is gone, the Walt Disney Company is bringing in someone who is going to enter into the temporary role of CFO with 30 years under his belt. This is a Mr. Larry Lansbury, I believe. It's Lansbury, at least is his last name, maybe Tony. But Mr. Lansbury is entering the role with 30 years under his belt at Disney. That means he is at retirement age. He is coming in from the parks division, which means he has no connections to Hollywood that we are aware of. And we know that he has an end date in sight for when he exits the role, and we would assume then that he is headed towards retirement. That is exactly the type of person that you would want to bring in if you were preparing to let heads roll. And so when that happened, I commented on it and said, well, the person who's coming in is perhaps the bigger story than the person who's going out, if you can imagine it. Now, here we are. Only days later, Ton Newton is exiting the company. She is not releasing her own statement as she does so. And you are exactly right, Andre. That is typically a major indicator that the person is not leaving on their own terms. She also, upon leaving, is apparently going to be on the board of an unspecified company. We have no idea what company that would be. And it is made special mention in these articles. And I love this so much. And in fact, I am going to put this in the private chat for all of you if you want to share this out. But they are mentioning that she is going to her creative company to work on her creative company endeavors. This is really something, because Ton Newton, the chief diversity officer of the Walt Disney Company and the chief architect of Reimagine Tomorrow, she has also had a side hustle. She's been running a janky jewelry company called Stone. And it is not better than Etsy, I would say. In fact, if you guys would like to click on the gallery in the top right, you're going to find all kinds of things. Gallery, collectibles. Actually, click on collectibles. Yeah, so well, we've got some good. There's the beautiful nipple ring that everybody wants, the inverted nipple ring. It's a beautiful object. But these are essentially very, very ugly pieces of jewelry. Going back up and click on collectible or collections. Yeah, collections. Any one of those. Let's just take a look at the jewelry that you can find. These are the pieces of jewelry that you can purchase for extremely high prices. And we have long speculated, although we do not know, that this was essentially a means by which for Ton Newton to make some more money as people attempted to curry favor with the chief diversity head of the Walt Disney Company, buying these trinkets that no human should ever want to put on themselves. And so that is the creative endeavor that they're referring to. We are talking about...
Let me guess. These trinkets are very diverse, right?
Oh, I'm sure. And they are thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
I
they
would
were all
not buy
made
them.
in Taiwan.
Yes, and I would not buy them from the dollar store. But
So
that's what they're talking about.
Are you alleging that people who worked with her were encouraged at gunpoint to buy her shit?
I am saying that we could not figure out how she was winning so many awards for this awful, atrocious jewelry in comparison to other things. And perhaps people wanted to have a place at the table with Disney and gather relationships that way. Networking, I believe they call it. Now, the interesting thing is that she is, of course, the architect behind Reimagine Tomorrow.
Yep.
That is literally the program which has been destroying Disney from the inside out. So the fact that she is gone, we cannot, we can't overstate this, how big it is. Does this mean the DEI initiatives at Disney end? No. Does it mean the department is collapsed? No. Does it mean that Reimagine Tomorrow ceases to exist? Probably not. But this woman is nuts. This woman is the face of absolute nuttery. The things that they have done under her, including telling cast members at the parks that you are no longer allowed to say men or women, boys or girls.
Yep.
They struck the gendered language from announcements. They had children portrayed in the new Proud Family series going against police officers, and the police officers looked more evil and cruel than the cats in An American Tale with Fievel. This is the woman who's been behind all of that. And she's gone. She's also the woman who essentially took out Bob Chapek along with Christine McCarthy. And now the two major actors behind the scenes who brought Iger back have been exited, we assume, by Iger. This is big, big news at Disney. And perhaps it's a lesson for those who would be the enders of other careers inside corporations, that eventually it comes your way. There is no way that Tawn Newton is going anywhere where she will have the same impact as what she had at the Walt Disney Company, indoctrinating and filtrating children's content.
Is she the woman who did the video who
Not So Secret Gay Agenda?
No, that's not her. That's one of her lieutenants, but that's not her.
Are you talking about
Chato,
Raveneau? Right, Raveneau is Latoya Raveneau is the lady I think you're talking about.
Yeah, but Mr. Chato, you did some research into Reimagine Tomorrow in this glorious, much more diverse and safer way. Can you just, before we let WDW Pro go on, share with us what were your findings about Reimagine Tomorrow, this glorious Disney company-wide initiative, courtesy of Latondra Newton?
The thing that struck me was it was both internal corporate DEI and it was product. Like, I've never heard of an HR person who generates or manages product development. That I found it was strange. It seemed to be quite poisonous. You've got videos by Beyonce, Black is King. I could hardly wait for the next movie, White is King. That's
or brown is king, or any other color.
Big. Pardon me?
Do it with any other race and see how that goes.
With anything. Like, Italians are king. You just won't get away with it.
No.
And she is perpetuating this stereotype within her community, and I don't think in the long term it's particularly helpful. And this whole Reimagining Tomorrow is just filled with this royalty syndrome. And like I said, I'm shocked that a HR position has had such influence on end product.
So now that she's gone, I guess Disney is still going to be suffering from Newton's laws of failure, I guess we could call them.
Maybe on the production side, all kidding aside, I think they're going to continue die on HR. There's no question. Yeah. But I think maybe they're just not going to let one individual do both.
I look, regardless, I mean, obviously it'd be better if they got rid of all of that stuff and cleaned house and replaced their HR department. But that's you're right. That's not going to happen. But let's not forget that this lady was almost single-handedly responsible for destroying 3 classic and much appreciated attractions in the theme parks. You know,
yes.
You know, she took out 3 things, all in service of her wackadoodle ideology.
And culture. Let's specify how that worked. You have she's over Reimagine Tomorrow. That's an umbrella that holds all of these very radical belief systems inside the company. One of those initiatives underneath that umbrella is the Story Matters group, which is highly linked with Carmen Smith, who's the one of the heads of the WDI. So, and that's how they managed to take out these major attractions where they were destroying attractions that people love. Splash Mountain has been voted still after its destruction as the most popular ride in Disney parks. And Disney parks are the most popular parks in the world. So what does that mean? Well, it probably means they destroyed the most popular attraction on the planet.
And here's the quote under Story Matters, under Reimagining Tomorrow. See how we're using advisors to flag historical content containing negative depictions of people cultures.
Well, now we know who edited the French Connection. Obviously, it was those individuals. But no, these guys have kind of made themselves obsolete. It's by making all these fucking lists of things that you have to have done in your movies. Now they have the list. They don't need them. They already know what they have to do. So they don't need these people anymore. You gave us the list. We're done.
The most brilliant thing that the new communists have done is abandon class struggle and go for culture struggle and race. That was the most brilliant change in tactics.
Well, that's exactly what I said.
And then branch that out to other intersectional realms.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what they did. Because remember, I've said this before, Paul, you may not have actually heard me say this. I've said this for years and years and years. What was it all about? It was like, we were all against the man. Well, they got smart and they put white in front of man.
Let's be specific. The man got smart and put white man in front of the man.
That's what I was trying to say, but yes.
The man gets away scot-free because everyone else is too busy
pointing their fingers at the white man.
And the irony is the globalists that have adopted ESG are now their allies.
Yep.
This is the weirdest shit, man. Like they are the man.
Hippies went corporate. That's what happened, Paul.
More than corporate.
More than corporate. You're right. It is. It's almost nefarious in that.
They went Bond villain. That's what they did.
Yeah, they become fucking Bond villains.
I can hardly wait for a movie where the HR head is the villain.
Hashtag John Milius was
back in the 80s and 90s. They used to kind of be Paul. I mean,
exactly. Hashtag John Milius was right.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't mean to to derail that a little bit, but it is true. Like, this is the thing, is they've made themselves obsolete. Now they know all they got to do is throw in every color of the rainbow and they're going to get a pass. And it's funny because you even had, because we discussed this on Toxic Femme, you even had Tonka Watershed out there talking about how this diversity in film is unnatural and it doesn't really quite work. Because it's just not the way the real world is.
So let's have some real fun. Let's put a quote up there that might make it onto all kinds of shows. Here's the quote I'll give you on this one. What if this black lady was brought into Disney to run all of this stuff because it helped Iger with his political ambitions? And when he came back to fix the mess he made because of his political ambitions, having not ever run for president, the black woman was no longer needed and he got rid of her. That is the story, that the white man brought her in to do his bidding so that he could virtue signal, so that he could run for president if he wanted to. And when he came back and saw that things were messy, she had to go.
I have a question related to that because I do like that theory, because I will say that what this looks an awful lot like is that Bob Iger is continuing what we were hearing Bob Chapek intended to do. Basically do mass firings and in the process get rid of the ideologues, destroying the company. And do we know that is what has happened here? No, but it may have been. But I have a question for you. I asked the same question to someone else, which will we'll see later on here. But what do you think that BlackRock will think about this? Because they're all in on ESG, DEI, everything like that. And it could very well be that Bob Iger recognizes, this would not surprise me, this is just my theory, that he recognizes that this thing right here is completely destroying Disney. He's not going to be president, but his legacy will be the CEO that destroy Disney. Yeah, you have like some people that can't fathom that Daddy Iger isn't good for the company. You have a few pundits that are completely blind to all of his bad sides. But let's just say that, yeah, he decides that, shit, this ain't working out. This is destroying the company. I have my legacy to look after here. This person has got to go. What does BlackRock think about removing this person? And who's going to come in instead and continue the work that BlackRock surely wants to see continue? What's your thoughts on that?
I think BlackRock should be investing in Newton's jewelry company.
How do you know they aren't already?
There we go.
Well played. Well, I think that BlackRock has many more things to worry about. Given what was brought out in that latest expose on Twitter. I don't know if you guys have discussed it. I don't know if it's been brought up at all.
We haven't brought it up. I retweeted it yesterday, and we're very happy to get into it. But it's dangerous because that, again,
it is.
This is not the platform for it. I'd rather not get into it. That's a discussion for Rumble.
But to answer your question, we simply have to say this nondescript expose that came out, which we shall not discuss, but that probably is higher up on the list of BlackRock's priorities today. In terms of where this goes with BlackRock and being an institutional investor and how they're affecting these companies, I am optimistic that the market at large, despite how big BlackRock is, I think it's something like they hold, gosh, what was it? What they said, $15 trillion in holdings? $20 trillion.
Your money. It's not their money. It's your money.
Yes, well, taking the pensions and the retirements of everyone, who has no idea who they are. But I'm still optimistic that the market can respond. I'm very glad that the market has responded. Finally, now, apparently we crossed the threshold somewhere. Perhaps it was Disney that did it. Perhaps it was an alcoholic beverage company. But whoever did it, we seem to have crossed the threshold. And thank God for that, because we were headed in a very bad direction in terms of authoritarianism, in terms of censorship on the internet. You've also got to give kudos to Elon Musk for buying Twitter. That seems to have had a corrective effect on discourse online. Whatever you may think of Elon, whatever you may think of Twitter, you may think it's a stupid platform and you don't want anything to do with it. But I think it has put pressure on the other platforms to allow more free speech and more dissemination of ideas, even those they disagree with, so long as they're not utterly bereft of value. And so kudos to where we are right now versus where we were 6 months ago.
True.
Yeah. That was tremendous. But we are about to lose a few panelists here. Mr. Chato, we are losing you first. So before you have to go, what do you make of this? And also, here's a super chat for you to Neil89 says, Paul, where does the 3:10 Yuma remake stack in?
Yeah, there's a
real quick, and then
Western.
I want to get back into this discussion.
Yeah, that's in the realistic Western category.
Yeah. And Shirogami says, Chato, in the anime, the saga of Tanya the Evil, the villainous protagonist starts out at an HR.
I love it.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, that gets us nicely back into the article, yeah.
Exactly. So, what do you think is going to come from this? Why do you think that this woman is no longer with the company? And more importantly, what comes next?
I think your analysis is correct. I think Disney might be a microcosm of capitalism, maybe in the long run, winning out against all this nonsense. And then that really is the only that's the only lever that we have, because the universities have no per se capitalism. They're going to hold on to their tenured, nut jobs forever.
We would rather, Paul, meritocracy battle it out
Yes.
in the financial world than beyond, because once it spills out beyond that, then all hell breaks loose. So let's battle it out inside Disney rather than in our communities.
Meritocracy must win. Talent must win, with an acknowledgement that in the past, people of color, people of different sexual orientations did have a harder time. But I think we are aware of that now. Let's just make good content.
Can I but let me push back a little bit. You did fight for those things, Paul, and to your credit. But if you don't have you have to go back quite a ways, since those differences, were actually something that were different. I mean,
and that's the problem, is that the woke are continuing to fight a battle that no longer exists for the most part.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, I would argue that by the time the early 90s came around, none of these things existed. Those battles were fought, won, and over. Yep. And Andre's right. The mechanisms, the machinery, all that stuff that was left in place was co-opted by others to, the
Cosby Show was the most popular show. Michael Jackson was the most popular singer. Michael Jordan was the most popular athlete. Yeah. And now we're back again as if none of those things ever happened.
Yeah. And then also Tiger Valley says for 35 South African rounds, off topic, but been meaning to ask Paul. Paul, from one Elder Scrolls fan to another, best game, Morrowind, Oblivion, or Skyrim, and why is it Morrowind?
This is how you start a fight, by the way. This is how you start a real fight. Screw the Disney stuff. Take us here, and we'll get an argument.
I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to answer that and lose a fan, because I need every subscriber.
That was most diplomatic of you. Real final thoughts on this topic before you have to go.
Well, I think this is fascinating, and I think the woman's a talentless hack, and they just gave her the keys to the throne, and now they're suffering the results of that. That's it.
This clip was taken from Midnight's Edge in the Morning, which streams live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time on the Midnight's Edge main channel. There, you can send in your live questions and comments before clips and full stream replays are uploaded to Midnight's Edge live archives. We are also on Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey, and Facebook, so smash that like, help share, subscribe, and join us.